Hello YouTube! I have here a Alpine 203BT, and actually the same device in here is the 200BT. So they are basically the same machine, but this has a CD player. Now I have here a MP3 that is a pure sine wave 40 Hz and it's at 0 dB. So we'll be checking out where this head unit starts to clip, just to make sure that we don't put our volume too high or our sub level or bass boost or something like this too high, so we don't get distortion feed in our amplifiers. So first of all, I have here this Alpine head unit has a bass setup. Where you are comes from here. You can put bass -7 to +7. We leave it now for 0. Then you have bass engine that does something, alters the signal in some kind of way. And we are now checking from the RCAs behind here on the subwoofer output. So we can now turn the volume up into 35 volts, 35 volume, and we get nice signal. And on the setup inside here, it's actually quite tricky to go in and find the subwoofer level, which is from 0, from off to +15. But if we put this at the maximum highest +15, we get a nice clean signal still. It starts to a little bit go sharp on the edges, but it's not even close to be distorted. So that's how you determine that, or I will say that you can put your volume to the max and your sub level to the max and still get a clean signal out from the RCAs. Now if we do something with the bass engine, one-click bass engine lowers the voltage down to 0.7 volt. It was around 2.2 volts, and it alters the signal to be like a saw wave or something like this. Now if we put even more bass engine up to bass engine 6, we can see that it alters the signal very much, and only 1.5 volts. So we get less volts but alterated signal. Now with this, I really cannot recommend for you to use this bass engine. So we'll be leaving that for 0 for off, and we'll be checking out what effects this has if you use a bass boost. Now the volume is on max and the sub level is in max. So if we add some boost, we can see that it starts to go sharp on the edges here. It raises the voltage. Oh, sorry about that. It raises the voltage a little bit, but if we put it in +7, we can still see that we have the distorted signal, though we gained about 0.4 volts up in here. So it is quite good that it's not fully distorted, but it's quite sharp. So I really don't recommend of using any kind of bass boost or any kind of bass engines with this device. But from a volume from a 0 to 35 and a sub level from 0 to +15, everything is okay. And it has 2.2 volts outputs in 40 Hz in 0 dB song. Now what about the internal amplifier of the head unit? I will be putting this on pause there, and then I will be taking this off and we will check it out, the internal amplifier, because if you are using like a OEM head speakers at the front and just have one RCA output for your subwoofer amplifier and you crank this up, you probably will hear some distortion. So let's play it again, and we'll see here that we are now fully distorted. 13.72 volts, we have volume maximum and a sub level 15. Now if I lower the down here, we can see that around 28, 29, at 30 volume it starts to distort. So at a volume of 29 we can see that the signal is still clean. Now what about a bass engine? One tap of bass engines fully distorts the signal, and if we put even more, +6, it's completely square wave. So I really do not recommend of using bass engine. Now what about bass boost? With a +1 we have a little bit alternation of the signal, but it starts to little bit, if you can see here, it starts to little bit go into distortion. So back in the square one, so our maximum volume and sub level with this device is volume of 29 and sub level 15. I will just check it out, the sub level here quick, that it was all set at the 15 subwoofer level plus 15. Yes, so if you put sub level down from the 15, you can actually raise up some volume, but it probably, I will change that to AC and change this and press auto here so we can actually see the signal again. So if we put a subwoofer from, let's say, down to 10, I think we can actually go higher with the voltage. No, it still starts to distort at the volume of 30. So, because that was a subwoofer RCA, of course. Now that was a dumb move for me. So the internal amplifier goes into distortion at the volume of 29 is still clean, but 30 is distorted. And the RCA output works from 35 volume, the maximum volume, and the maximum subwoofer output, and it's still playable. But if you touch bass boost or bass engine, it starts to distort or alterate the signal, that it's not any good anymore. I don't actually know what the bass engine does, but I think that it's more like of about a loudness kind of feature, that if you play, like, let's say you play your songs with a very low volume, if you use bass engine you can get a little bit more oomph to the sound. But when playing it really loud and using like in competitions, this head unit, this 203 or 200 Bluetooth device, then you should not be using bass engine. Now compared to the older ones like 92 Bluetooth or a 178BT, this has much better internal amplifier, which is quite good, because normally the inner amplifier starts to distort at around 20-21 volume, and the output of the RCA starts to distort at the volume of around 28 with a sub level 15. So this has quite of an better internals, this amplifier, so you can crank it up as loud as you can, and the RCA output does not go into distortion if you don't touch the bass engine or the bass boost there. Now, like if you like, dislike if you dislike, and leave a comment. What do you think about Alpine head units? I really like Alpine head units, and with this test I can easily say that you can crank your system up if you have only RCA outputs connected into the amplifiers. But if you are using the internal amplifier inside the head unit, you can only put it up to 29 volume. So keep everything clean and safe and play loud. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike, and see you on the next video. Bye bye!